Steadily it rises.
Hey, it's ODB, the Lincoln Addict. I'm going to recap the last 4 weeks or so of sales on Bring a Trailer, just to kind of recap some of the cars I've covered. What we're going to do here is, if you take a look at the screen that you're watching, I'm on Bring a Trailer's website. I searched Lincoln Continental. I scrolled back, and we can see there's actually been a decent amount of sales just in the last month. At the time of this recording, it's May 14th. And you'll see here, we're going to go ahead and start with April 14th. This 65 Lincoln Continental sedan. Now, I covered this one in a decent amount of detail, and it sold for a mere $6,300, which I thought was a very fair price. Many of you chimed in via the comments on that deeper dive video and kind of reinforced that you like the thought of it kind of staying more of a ratty type car with the patina bumper and some of those items, of course. Now, someone may decide that they want to restore this car, but regardless, in my opinion, 65 is a very sought after year, and although this car was far from perfect, someone got a good deal, in my opinion, at $6,300. Next, this was only 3 days later. You had a 61 Lincoln Continental sedan. I believe I did a longer video on this one as well. This sold for $1,300. And when we looked at it, we noticed that the upholstery was kind of hodgepodge together, different colors with the black and the brown and the seafoam and whatnot. We saw that it had a newer air conditioning. And for the most part, I think I said I thought this one was going to go for like $7,000 to $12,000. And of course, it bumped just above that. The 61s are very sought after. A lot of people love these years. Of course, the front bumper, that front end, if you will, is unique to 61. So a solid price, I think, for that car. Next, I didn't get a chance to do a deep dive on this one, but I knew the individual that had owned this car, and I think I maybe had mentioned in another video that this car had sold previously, and this ended up going on 426, a custom 69 sedan for $73,500. I think it's a very, very strong price. I know this car has a lot of money in it. If you look at the Dakota digital gauges, it's got a center console. It has an LS engine, which I understand is not everyone's cup of tea. It also has adjustable suspension. So it's a pretty much full custom Lincoln for the most part, other than the outside look of the car and, of course, the interior. But for a later year Lincoln, you start to get to 68, 69. We're starting to see strong prices on these cars. And certainly someone that wanted a turnkey kind of hot rod resto mod, if you will, they certainly got it there for $73,500. That was on 426. Now, this one was definitely a great catch for someone. I got a chance to see this car in person. I'll possibly talk more about that in the future. Now, I saw it after it sold, and as soon as I saw it, I told the individual that, wow, this looks like the car that was on Bring a Trailer, and the person said, yeah, it is. This car was immaculate. Of course, you look underneath the car and you go, hey, these cars typically aren't perfect, especially if they're driven. But as I mentioned a moment ago, the 68, 69s are starting to kind of really come around. And I think someone that picked up this car at $45,000 got a super nice car, lower miles, just unbelievable interior when I saw it in person, of course, with the bucket seats, also known as adjustable contour seats. It's just immaculate. Very, very nice car. Strong price. But again, those prices are starting to come around. And again, that sold the same time. Bring a Trailer has been kind of stacking these a little bit, I think probably to maybe get through the backlog of Lincolns that they want to sell, or that folks want to sell, if you will. But that sold on the same day, again, $45,000. Now, 3 days later, on April 27th, you had a 65 Lincoln Continental. This is, of course, is a sedan. And I went through this one more in detail, kind of, borderline. Hey, do you restore it? Do you leave it more of a patina type Lincoln? As I often talk about, it's got some features, speed control, a non-AC car, and a few things like that. But again, 65 is very desirable. And this is a car, if it doesn't have a lot of rust underneath that vinyl top, you basically end up with a car that you could potentially restore. And again, seeing the price of the 68 go for nearly 50 grand, I think that 65, even in that condition, was a solid buy. Now, this 63 Lincoln Continental convertible I thought was a nice car overall. Certainly not perfect, but kind of an untouched car, if you will. And in my opinion, although I did a deeper dive on this one, I think someone got a pretty good buy on it. Sub 50,000, and it's a convertible. It leaves room for the opportunity to make this car even nicer. And again, with a 68 sedan selling for 45 grand, and then you come in with a 63, which is super desirable, that only sells for less than 2,000 more. It's a testament to, number one, how nice the 68 sedan was, but number two, that you can, although nearly 50 grand is a lot of money, you can still find some convertibles out there for a fair price. Speaking of fair price, you have the 66 Lincoln Continental. I covered this one in detail. The owner eventually did chime in the comments, and he said, hey, yeah, the word project really should not be in the title. I approved it, and Bring a Trailer did not want to change it after the fact since bids were already placed. But certainly, I think someone got a steal on this car. You may or may not agree. I love 66. It's my favorite out of the 66, 67. Certainly, I like the grille bar count. I like the star on the front fender. Of course, this one, kind of a more unique color. Love the interior on it. But for someone to be able to swoop in and get this one at $29,500, as I mentioned prior, it's not a perfect car. I totally get it, but it's certainly on its way. You could either leave it as is and enjoy it, of course, or go in and put some money into it. But I certainly think this is a good investment for someone, and they'll be able to enjoy the car. Plus, I truly feel it's going to build some value. Now, a quick sneak peek of what's out there right now. You got the 68 sedan. This one on wide whites, of course, the smoothie wheels, and I'm not going to go through a lot of it. But if you look at this car, for the most part, you're getting a car that for the most part looks like a Lincoln, right? It's not hodgepodged a lot. So I think this will appeal to both folks that are more along the lines of purists, or someone that even wants kind of a quote hot rod Lincoln, something a little bit to build upon. But this one ends in 4 days, so I'll be curious to see where it goes, especially with that other 68 selling for what it did. And then lastly, I did a deeper dive on this car prior, and I recently did one. So I'll link to the video of this one at the end here if you want to click through. This was a premium listing. In the past, it sold for a little less than $200,000. I think it was $172 off the top of my head. But I did a bonus at the end of that video if you want to watch it. And I talk about, is this the car that was on the tarmac when JFK's coffin was being loaded into the Air Force One? And many of you chimed in, so I appreciate that feedback. I'll let you guys watch that video. I will say John Cashman, as I mentioned prior, he is back. He is unretired. And if you want to check out this video here, John recently posted in or via Instagram that he has worked on this car in the past, and this was super cool. Whether the individual, potentially, said, hey, John, can you come help me? I want to do a video on this car or whatnot. Anytime John Cashman's name is tied to one of these Lincolns, it certainly adds value to it because he's the best in the business when it comes to the top and the windows. He's been working on them 40 years. And he's a name that always comes up, as does Lincoln Land and Blair Farmer, if you will. So, those three kind of names, if you will, John Cashman, Lincoln Land, and Blair Farmer, as far as I'm concerned, are some of the best out there. That's my opinion. So, Lyndon Johnson 64 convertible. I'll link to that video if you want a deeper dive on it. Certainly appreciate all the support. I'll be looking for more Lincolns that come up for sale. Check out Lincoln Addict Podcast however you find podcasts. The last thing I will tell you is I am working on a new episode. I've been working on it for some time. It's going to be very in-depth, and I think some of you are really going to enjoy it. So I'm trying to turn the page and really get some good content out on Lincoln Addict Podcast. Take care, everyone.